Welcome back to another episode of the Mental Scraps Podcast, episode number 2. I am your host, Devin Scott, and I'm here with my co-host, my pops, Darnell Scott. What's going on, pops? How you feeling today?
Man, feeling fantastic, man. Talking to my son, so I'm great.
Yes, sir. Love it. We got a little music in the background. This is not our music in the background, but shout out to Jeezy and the TZ Got Beats on YouTube, man. So we're gonna give you your love. So we here with you. But just wanted to talk a little bit more about you like we do all the time. This beat got me talking fast. Trying to get on the beat. But definitely excited to talk for episode number 2. Chop it up with you as always, as we talked about in episode number 1, how we always have these talks and they're always so powerful, and we like, man, we should have recorded that. So we here weekly with y'all. So this is a weekly show. We're going to be here every single week with the Mental Scratch Podcast and chopping it up with my pops, man, little father-son talk. So we're going to have some fun. So whether you're watching on the YouTube or you're just simply watching on Apple Podcasts or any other streaming platform, man, we welcome you in and thank you for tapping in. But just to get right into this thing, pops, we ain't going to waste no time, man. We talked about it a little bit in episode number 1. I want to talk about it in episode number 2 again. So what is a mental scrap? Can you dive in a little bit more on what a mental scrap exactly is?
So for me, a mental scrap it's really a combination of the things I've learned over my lifetime, the things I've heard from mentors, things I read in books, my experiences, and I just created a orderly account of the things that I can go to, so I can read and keep going back to it, so I will keep my mind focused on the task at hand and my future tasks as well. So mental scraps is just a combination of words and ideas put together in a language that I understand for me, something that like a computer program for myself.
Gotcha. And then, so if this is something for you, how can people take advantage of their own mental scraps? Like, what is your recommendation when they have their mental scraps and their own personal thoughts? What should they be doing with those?
Well, I believe that if you write something down, it improves your life. One, so I'm a mentor. A lot of people who, if you don't know that, I'm a mentor of the youth, at-risk youth. So I had a kid, do an exercise. Had him to write down 3 colors on a piece of paper: red, blue, and green. And then I took the paper away from him and we went and did something else for a few hours. And I said, hey, I got $10 right now if you could tell me those 3 colors, from your memory. And his eyes lit up, could not remember. He said every color except for the right ones. And I said, now, if I give you this paper, it's going to be easy for you to remember that. So he looked at the paper. He said, oh, man, red, blue, and green. How did I forget that? I said, easy. A short pencil's better than a long memory. Bottom line. So writing down, like, for something inspires somebody. How people are social media junkies. People will read quotes all day. They will love the quotes. They would even type stuff on the quote, but they never take the quote and make it their own so that they can use it as a future mental power, mental scrap to carry them through their life. So I just highly recommend anything that inspires you, write that down so you can use it as fuel, for the future and for the present,
Yeah, I love that. And just to add to that, man, you've been telling me my whole life to write things down, right? And it's really easy to not do what your parents say. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like, oh, yeah, Pops, you've been telling me this every day. Write it down. All right, I got it. And a lot of us do that as children. But once I finally started writing things down, and I shared this story with you before, but once I started writing things down, I'll tell a quick story. So I started intentionally actually writing things down when I was living out in New Jersey. So this was, 3-4 years ago now, to where I said, you know what? I'm ready for some change. I'm ready for something different. I'm ready for my life to actually begin. I'm getting out of college. So I was at that 22, 23 year age. And I said, I got to start writing stuff down. My pop's been telling me this forever. So to make a long story short, Illy and I, for those y'all don't know, my fiance, soon to be wifey, man. So soon to be wife in October. So super excited about that. But with that being said, we wrote down our goals down. We wrote down my goals, we wrote down her goals, and we wrote down our goals. And we wrote it down on a dry erase board, wrote it all down. Cool. 2 years later, I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. Haven't looked at this board since. I found this board while I was unpacking boxes, and I was like, whoa, these are our goals we wrote down like 2 years ago. Like, what is going on with this? Like, so I got it out the box and I started looking at it, and that was all like the dry erase is now a permanent marker, right? It's been on there for 2 years. It's not coming off anymore. But we look at them, and every single thing that we wrote down on these goals has already happened, or we're in the works of making it happen and almost there. So the power of writing things down is so crucial. And so I got to show you some love on that one, Pops, because it definitely changed my life by simply writing things down.
Man, I wrote down in 2009, I wrote down the words Healthy Options LLC. 2009. Now it's crazy because I didn't start the business till 2017. And I was fighting myself trying to figure out a name to call my business. I kept trying to fight. Well, I had a bright idea. You know what I'll call it? I'll call it Healthy Options LLC. Came out of nowhere, right? Nah, it came out of what I wrote in the past. 2020. I'm just going through my notebooks. I find a red notebook. Now, I could have got the yellow one, the blue one, the black one. I could have got the spiral one. I could have got any one, but I went right to this red notebook. I pull it out. I open it up for whatever reason. I start reading. And then in a paragraph, it said, I call my business Healthy Options LLC, period. It came back to me when something I wrote in the past came back to me. Incredible. A person who doesn't write things down, they're really missing a very important part of their life. So like mental scraps, for me, it's not for me. I believe everything I'm writing in mental scraps will help people. I think they will help anybody because they are quotes and it's a closed-ended type of conversation. So basically, once you go to number 3 and you read number 3, once you get to that period, then number 4 has nothing to do with number 3. So it's not a book. It's just a book of, again, mental scraps. And I believe that one mental scrap will help improve people, the way they think about themselves and others, So yeah, writing is it. Writing is it for me.
I love that. And I just want to talk a little bit about on what you said earlier, because you said it's people read quotes all the time. People love quotes. Like people, you know what I mean? They love quotes, but are they really like diving in on the quote? Are they just taking the quote and like, oh, I love that, let me repost it just for the clout? Or are they really making it their own? So that's one thing that I do all the time, because nothing under the sun it hasn't been thought of before. Everything's been thought of before. Everything's has been here. It's somebody thought about it. Somebody's already done it, even if you don't know. But the cool part about that is you can take a quote, you can turn it into your own, right? Just like you said. So you're going to paraphrase it. But the cool part about that, when you do that, you're not just taking a quote and just writing it down and be like, oh, that's a quote, I love that. You're going to make it your own personal mental scrap, and now it's your quote. And from you doing that, now it's going to be ingrained into your memory once you've written it down. So exactly. I do that all the time. When we talk wise words, I get a whole bunch of quotes from other people, and I make it my own mental scrap, and I share those wise words every single day on the Consistent Daily Action Morning Show. So that's what I do every single time, every single day, because I mean, there's just so much knowledge, but you got to make it your own and make it yours. So I love when we talk about mental scraps, but I did want to start there because it may be some like, what is a mental scrap? Like, what are y'all even talking about? So I want to definitely hit on that before we dive in too much more of the content. But before we move on, and I want to learn more about your story, as your son and getting a better understanding. I've heard a lot of it, but I want to get a better understanding of how you were raised and how that was different from how I was raised, and some of the things you may have learned in life early on that taught me how to not make those same mistakes. But before we get into more of your story, any other anything else when it comes to mental scraps you want to hit on?
Anything you put into your mind and you read it over and over, it becomes like a stronghold, against yourself. like a lot of people that have a stronghold where they have this language. They'll say things like, I am not wealthy. And somebody say, come up, say, what's up, rich man? How you doing? They be like, oh, no, I'm not rich. They will put the block up. Well, that's not really them putting the block up. That's their mindset putting the block up. And you're staying true to your level of mind, to the level of your mindset. So when people do that, it's like, and then you come back over here to the other side when you can actually see the word that you wrote for yourself. Now, if I'm going to believe your word, I got to believe mine. I got to use my word as fuel. If I'm going to use your word as fuel, all these books behind me, beautiful. That gave me a lot of baselines to start from. But these words are not mine. The words that belong to me are the words that I write down, the words that I take it to my heart. We blame people all the time for not having some type of level. Now, back in the 1500s, 1600s, you can say racism played a big part in why people don't have what they want. But in 2021, everybody got a computer, everybody got the internet, everybody got a phone, everybody can talk to the public, everybody's a public speaker now, So the mental scrap part of it is you got to get down who you are to yourself, your mindset to yourself. You got to get that down, and then you got to believe that. Somebody talk negative to you, you have to come right back with the thank you. I appreciate you telling me that I'm negative. Thank you for paying attention to what I do. I'm always trying to get better and better and better. Somebody come to you with some positive information. Same thing. Thank you for paying attention to me. Thank you for for this moment. I'm always trying to improve myself and get better, so you can stay real when you have mental scraps. You can always stay real with yourself. But if you always just, like the leaf in the wind blow left, the leaf go left. The wind blow right, the leaf go right. If you that type of thinker, it's trouble. It's trouble out here. You'll never know where you're going, when the winds of the world blow. So writing down who you are to yourself, knowing yourself, man, that's the key. That's one of my keys, I should say.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that's the number one step we talk about. I like to put things in the systems and steps, but it's really hard sometimes. I'll be honest. Like, it's really hard to find like your thing. Like, you see us both have I am hats on for those of y'all that's watching on YouTube. But, we're strong believers in affirming and speaking what we want into existence and making it become a reality for us in our life and not worrying about what everybody else is worried about. But with social media, it's a huge problem on that, right? Because that's all social media is. You see everybody's bright days, everybody's. So you think nobody has low days. It's like, nah, everybody has days where they down. Everybody. Mm-hmm. But social media puts on the whole front. But nah, I definitely love that, Pops. And I had a thought. This is gone. It'll come back to me. But man, you have to write those things down because that's how you're gonna remember them. So I love that and love your how you're explaining the mental scraps situation, because you got to make it yours, man. You got to make it yours. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was going with the GPS, right? So you must know where you're going. It's a quote that you told me a long time ago, right? If you don't know where you're going, you're never gonna get there. Or we even evolved that and said, if you don't know where you're going, you already there. You're literally right there, right now. If you're not going anywhere, if you're not programming something into the GPS, well, shoot, you there then. And if you happy where you at, hey, live it up then. Go ahead and do what you do. But if you're not, you better reprogram that GPS to put it somewhere else. So before we get into more of your story, how do you program something into, somewhere you want to go if you don't know where you want to go? Like, how do you program something into the GPS if you don't know even, you don't know where to go?
Well, I mean, if a person's hungry for food and you don't have no food in your house, the first step is to make a decision on what you want to eat. Mm-hmm. You have to decide. I put a post up by a guy named Jay Prince, on my Instagram. I'm starting to love Instagram, but I ain't gonna put only shine out there. I'm gonna put some mud too, But he said you wake up every day with two things: chance and choice, and that just hit me like a ton of bricks. Even though I'm a man that thinks like that already, but just hearing it made it more whole for me to hear somebody else outside of me say that, So you have to know where you're going. I mean, the bottom line is you have to know what you want. What do you want? What do you want to eat? You don't go to, if you want, some chicken, you probably will go to Boston Market, or Chick-fil-A, or, something like that. But if you want fish, you could probably go to Long John Silver's or, to a restaurant that serves fish or, so you have to really know what you want. You have to program yourself. Nobody gets in a car and just drives around when they're hungry. They already know where they're going before they put the key in the car. So it's all about knowing what you want. The one thing in the world, man, all these books I've read over my lifetime, and I've read many of them. And it's crazy that Darnell Scott reads books because I hated school with a passion. School was just not challenging to me at all. My mindset was just like, why am I learning this again? The teachers didn't explain nothing. They didn't explain why we were learning information. They were just saying, know this information and you'll graduate from high school. Nah, that ain't the way you teach kids. You got to tell them why they're learning what they're learning. But anyway, so every single book I read, pretty much, you have to know what you want. Think and Grow Rich. What do you want? What is your burning desire? The Science of Getting Rich. What do you want? You can't be rich if you don't know where you're going. You can't start working if you don't know what you want. And better yet, if you don't know what you're going to give back to the world after you get your wealth. Because if you don't give nothing back to the world, your wealth is going to dry up. It's going to dry up, So you have to write down where you're going. You have to write your list on Sunday for Monday. That's the best way to do it. That's how you set your GPS. You write it down a day before, and then you check it off like you do. You've added to me because, I like the check boxes now. I put my check boxes to the right. I write my line, then I put my check box to the right. I don't put it on the left, put it on the right. And it works for me. And when I check it off, I feel like, I just got done doing an extra rep, after I did the 10, and then I pushed another one up. I feel like I got 11 out of that 10. So, yeah, man, the key of it all, man, is knowing what you want first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, definitely 100%. Because again, one more time, you don't know what you want, you don't know where you're going, you ain't never gonna get there, right? But to take it one step deeper, right? What if you don't know, right? I heard what you said, you hit it, and I think it's real simple, right? And I think it's way less than people kind of put it, because most people I talk to is like, well, what my favorite question I ask everybody is, if money didn't matter, what would you do every day? Or sometimes put a dollar sign to it. If you had $100 billion in your bank account and money didn't matter, what would you do every day? And this question is driving to find your purpose. What is going to be your purpose in life, right? But most people, I would say 95% of people I've ever asked this question, they didn't know. I don't know. I'm again, most people have never thought about that. So they're like, let me get back to you. I'm like, yeah, don't worry. Take a week, take 2 weeks, whatever you need, let me know. But that's that one thing that you need to be doing, like right now, today, because that's your purpose. That's what you're here for. But to find your purpose is really tough, because it's like there's so much stuff out here. But I think it boils down to what you said. If you want chicken, right, you go put in Chick-fil-A. You go put in a chicken spot. If you want tacos, you go put in a taco spot. So you got to actually boil it down. And my advice would be, and I'll let you build on it, but my advice would be is that your want or your why or your one thing, it's okay to change it. It's all right. Like, you don't have to just say, this is my one thing and this is all I'm going to do the rest of my life, and that's how people are going to know me, and that's it. I ain't going to do nothing else. Because you may have a different experience that comes into your life that changes your direction, changes your path. You may have the Lord touch you and say, nah, hey, Devin, I know you thought you was going left, but we actually going right. We going right, and don't worry about it. Just come on. Right? You never know what may happen. But I think right away is to start it and just put something down. Because if there's nothing down, you already there. If you put something down, you're actually going to be driving to go somewhere, and on your journey there, you're going to hit some roadblocks. You can't go right. Well, we got to go left. You're going to start figuring out there, and that's where you're going to truly find your purpose. But any bills on that?
What is your passion? What do you do? What do you do with most of your time when you're not working? Like, what do you do? What do you enjoy? Like, what is it? Somebody may say they like to, they enjoy smoking and playing video games. That's what they may say something like that. They like drinking and sitting on the beach, something like that. Well, everything that you are passionate about, you can build a business around it, because you can always find the problem in what you love. Like if you're passionate about, t-shirt design, if you like, quit wearing other people's t-shirts and start building a t-shirt business. Build one t-shirt, wear it on your body, show the world what you're doing. Whatever it is. If you love caring for young people, then find a way to start caring for young people. If you love to write poetry every day. Write poetry on napkins and brown paper bags. Whatever you love, what do you do with most of your time after work? And if it's not fruitful, like if a person says that they don't have no money in the bank, and if the answer is no, then that's why you ain't got no money in the bank, because you're not putting no work in. The world costs more than 40 hours a week. It costs more than that. You got to work more. If you want more, you got to do more. So I would say find your passion by experimenting with the things you love, and not try to turn it into a business, but just do it as a professional hobby. And if something just clicks in for you, like photography has for me, man, go with it. Do your best. Just keep putting out your best work. Don't never short yourself. History never, ever, ever fails to show you what you regret. You always see your regret through history. So I would say be a person that don't, and not to live a life of regret. Be a person that lives a life of purpose. Do something that you love. And if you don't love doing nothing and you cool where you at, that's success for you. Somebody could be working at a gas station. Maybe that was their whole dream, to come to America and work at a gas station. That was their dream. They ain't got to worry about getting shot up by AK-47. They ain't got to worry about a dude walking close to them to blow them up, for the most part, So that's his dream. What if a person just wants to be a stay-at-home mom and they get there? That's their success. They're successful, because success is doing what you want to do with your time. Success is not how much money you got. That is not success. That is a false lie that people build. They try to build on that. No, success is doing what you want to do with your time every day. That's what success is.
Yeah, and I was gonna go there too, because success, everybody has their own success and whatever that looks like. But like you said, it's what everybody's comparing to everybody else. That's not nah. Stop worrying about money. Stop worrying about how much is in the bank, because depending on your level and depending on where you want to go and what you define as success, maybe that's the first step. Maybe we getting somewhere with the success, because what is success? Define success. Everybody's going to define it different. Like, what is that to you, right? And then I think that by you defining success is actually going to show you where you want to go. That's going to be the GPS location. That's going to be I got need boom, boom, boom. Type in success to your GPS, and now you on track. And things gonna change. So I like that, Pops. I like that, man. That's what's up. But anyway, just to transition a little bit, we definitely gonna talk about that a lot more on the Mental Scratch podcast. We'll talk for the whole first series about knowing where you're going. But I want to start it off, and I want to learn more about you. As your son, I want to learn more about how it was before I was here, right? Because obviously I only know what I saw. Which we'll talk a little bit more about. But before I was here, what did life look like for you?
Well, I had a pretty good life. I was in Mississippi a lot. My grandfather, and family from Mississippi, so we were there in Mississippi a lot during the summer times and things like that. I still don't know to this day why my mother decided to move to Indiana. I still don't know why, but we moved here, and when we moved here is when real life kind of happened, because in Mississippi, I would pop peas, and with my grandmother, we would pull food from the ground. We could eat the food from the ground. So it was pretty cool. We had chickens, and we had I seen armadillos and snakes, and we played with the frogs, the poisonous ones, boa constrictors. We seen all that type of stuff. Coyotes and foxes, all that stuff that we don't see here in the bricks. We seen that in Mississippi. So when I moved to Indiana, that's when everything really changed, because we moved. First of all, the influences that we moved around, the people were very violent. The people were they were very negative. They were very poor. So we moved from a place where we were kind of rich because my grandfather sold crops, to corporations, and also to people would come by the house and buy the crops. So he had his own little business, and we always had enough for everybody to eat well. But moving to Indiana, we was in a state of like we're surrounded by poverty almost. Our mindset wasn't poverty, but it was just a lot of stuff going on. People were shooting at people. Pretty much the same stuff that's going on today, except back then there was no social news or media to push out that information. But so we just seen it, and then it just kind of stayed trapped in the hood. So it wasn't no light shine done in the hood at all. Then we moved to a place called Hallville, in Indianapolis on the west side, and that's when I started getting, picking up all the bad habits of negativity. That's where I learned what stress was and anxiety. That's when I learned that I was depressed, sometimes. And that's when I learned that I wanted to know who my father was. Like, I'm not Jesus, so how did I get here? Who's the guy? And so I became obsessed with knowing who he was. So I started, banging on my mom's mind to try to find out who this dude was, because she wasn't giving really no effort to find out, where he was and stuff like that. So I would say stuff like every day, like, and what does he look like? Is he tall? Is he strong? Is he rich? Like, where is he? Who is he? So that became like my obsession when I was young, maybe 8 or 9 years old. I wanted to know who he was. Moving right along, I started hanging around people who were, their parents were like, wicked as ever. My mom was a church person. Most people in my family were not church people, but grandma was a church woman, period. Bottom line, she wake up in the morning time, she read the Bible. She told me about people in the Bible when I was younger. So I had a kind of a baseline that book was important to my grandmother. And if it was important to my grandmother, I was going to make it important to me. So, growing up was pretty rough. Once we got to Indiana, once we put our roots in Indiana, going on from there, started going to school, and it was just very bad. We didn't have the clothes and, all the things that, a lot of people who came from the mud probably went through. Everything really, really, really changed. And I started understanding life after I met my dad. Understood that he had, he worked hard his whole life. He always had money in his pocket, always had the finest cars, the finest clothes. When I met him, he was really, he was like a god to me, because I looked for him so hard, and he was the only thing I was looking for, so I had no discipline. I had nobody to tell me no. My mom couldn't control me, so I would just get in trouble. But the problem with me getting in trouble, I was a meek and mild individual, very soft spoken. So people tried to take advantage of me all the time. And they would just, people would jump me, people would, all kind of stuff like that. And then, when I met my dad, my dad's like, nah, we don't do that. So he gave me that first bit of, not, you got to use these. They use those, you got to use those. And he said, and sometimes you got to get a stick. If they're bigger than you, sometimes you got to grab a stick. He started teaching me that I had to defend myself. and he taught me about money. You know, I told you the money story back in the past. We're diving into that some other time, but that's something that really had a it made me think about money in a way that like I do now. You know, the way he taught me about money. So when I once I got my dad in my life, for the time that I had him, I began to grow as a man. And then we can fast forward all the way through my high school. I hated high school. The only thing that kept me in high school was basketball. That was it. If I could shoot the ball, if I was on the basketball team, I knew I had to have, the grades. And since I didn't want to be the dude on the team telling everybody I had D's, C's and D's, I had A's and B's because I didn't want to be that guy because I cared about what other people thought. So I got A's and B's through school because I wanted to, be a basketball player. When you were born, that's when my life totally changed. First there was your sister, Rachel, who was stillborn. She was stillborn. Nobody knows why. The doctor, there was no answer that just said sometimes it just happens like that. So a few years after that, you were born. And it was one particular time when you were when you were asleep, was at my mom's apartment. And of course, some neighbors moved in. My mom was real clean and she liked things in order. But if somebody moved into your next door in an apartment, they got roaches, they got roaches, we got roaches. 3 apartments on either side would have roaches if one person had them because they can come through the walls. So, and through the vents. So we had roaches. We had, my mom did a great job, for what the hand she was dealt and the way her mind was, she did really great, teaching me everything she could. Now I teach my mom, which is a blessing. But you were laid on my chest, you were asleep, you were under a year old, and I'll never forget, I can still feel the feeling. I feel it right now. Matter of fact, a roach crawled across my leg when you were asleep on my chest. So that night, I couldn't go to sleep. Then a roach could crawl across you. And I said, nah. So I had to protect you from the roaches. So I didn't go to sleep that whole entire night. And when I woke up, when I did finally get to sleep after my mom got up and took care of you for me, when I finally got up and I walked and sat on the front porch, and I would look at the cars because I could see the street from the apartment. I would look at the cars that was going down the street. There was Benzes going past the apartments. There was nice trucks going past the apartment. There was so many things going, and I was like, and I'm looking in the front. We ain't got I can see all the street. I can see the street because we ain't had no car, So I'm like, first of all, ain't no roach touching my son. My son cannot grow up like this. My son cannot grow up like me. My son got to be rich. He got to be a rich thinker. I started thinking that way even when I was in the dirtiest part of my mindset, the dirtiest part of my history. So, long story short, I started opening up my mind with that incident, and I started saying to myself, I know there's more. Because that dude who's driving down the street right now, he has a Benz and a Porsche. It wasn't like a bunch of junky cars rolled past. It was like a few junky cars, they would turn into our neighborhood, but most of the cars going past was nice. And I just couldn't understand it. Like 3 out of 5 was nice. So I said to myself, not being materialistic or nothing, I said to myself, there's more and I'm going to get it.
Mm-hmm. Love that. We'll pause it down. I know it's a lot more, but I want to go back to what you said at the beginning. You said coming from Mississippi, so you was with Grandma Scott's mom, your grandma, my great grandma. Yep. So going from Mississippi to Indiana, I know you say you still don't know why we moved, but you said it was a different mindset. Can you elaborate on what was the difference? Obviously in the South, I know, hey, I live down in the South now, some Southern hospitality down here. It's a little, it's different. It's different, just from my perspective. But what was that biggest change in that mindset going from Mississippi to Indiana? Like, how did you see the people just act and just live in a different type of life?
Well, number one, in the South, man, it was the truth. The truth is always apparent. A white dude did not care. You was a nigger to him. It wasn't like it was nothing hid it. They didn't have no sheets over their head or nothing like that. They did not hide it. It was just a racist place. Period. It was a mutual respect. You know, I don't like you because your skin is colored. I'm better than you. I mean, it was apparent everywhere we went. And my grandfather was my grandfather was a savage, you know, so he tolerated zero disrespect from anybody. Meek, mild, but he was chiseled. My grandfather had zero body fat on his body. He was a chiseled, hard, his hands were real hard. He was just a very chiseled, stern man, you know. There, you know, even though they hated you, they still spoke. How you doing, young man? Doing great. My grandfather would say, look him in the eyes when you talk to him. He look you in the eyes, look him in the eyes. Don't never be intimidated. Okay. All right. Come to Indiana, you say hello to somebody, it could be a fight. Hey, what's up, bro? Hey, what you mean? 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 What's up? I mean, literally. Speaking to somebody, it could be a fight. So I'm like, man, this is weird. Like, why black people don't like black people? That's weird to me, you know. So we spoke, no matter where we was. We always said hello to people. The neighbors didn't speak to us. The neighbors, like, you know, they would cuss at us. You know, they would try to steal our. You know, we didn't even have nothing, but they would steal what we did have. You know, so the mindset was just like somehow somebody made parents of black kids make they black kids hate other black kids, and the parents would fight other parents. This was normal. My mother got into many fights when I was young, you know, to protect me. It was just a whole different world of people. And then in Mississippi, you know, my grandfather had land as far as you could see, you know, so he was a farmer, you know, so he had land. He had so much land. You know, the story, he got the land on a bet, you know, playing cards, and he got the land on a bet. I'm not sure how far that is, but excuse me, he got that the land. He won a bet against a wealthy white man, and the white man, you know, he kept his word, gave him the deed, which is, I don't know how true that is, you know, in our family history, but you know, I'm still researching that. But yeah, man, the life here, man, the mindset of the people was like take. In Mississippi, it was give, 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 give. You always want to give respect, give respect, give respect. You know, they say the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. You know, but in Indiana, it was like treat people the way they treat you. You know, so it was a whole different level of thinking, and it was the wrong way. It wasn't good, man. So, you know, I just remained a humble, nice guy. And, you know, somebody would punch me in the face for no reason, you know, before God stretched me out, you know, they'd punch me in the face for no reason. And I wouldn't do nothing but cry to my mother. And then when I met my father, those days were over. Yeah. I stood up for myself, you know. Yeah.
No, I love that, and I definitely want to dive into the different mindsets, because I mean, you still see that to this day, and I probably wouldn't put it. You tell me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I probably wouldn't put it on like a Mississippi, Indiana thing, because there's some nice parts of Indiana, right? Well, I mean, Indiana's pretty. You know what I'm saying? It's a little racist in Indiana too. I mean, KKK started in Indiana, so would you say were there areas like, you know, like the Hallvilles and like the, you know, more of those lesser, you know, quote unquote hoods projects in Mississippi too? Was it the same, or it wasn't as much as that in the South versus in the Midwest?
No, it wasn't the same. You know, poverty in Mississippi was different than poverty in Indiana, because number one, Poverty in Mississippi meant people came together. People ate together. People brought their resources together. People, they supported one another. If you see a kid getting out of order, the community in Mississippi would be like, "Hey, I know your people." In Indiana, we ain't had cell phone back then, but if they did, they'd be like, "Yeah, look at them, they about to fight," and they would like, "Yeah, hit them back. Back where I lived at, where we was in Mississippi, I should say, man, the people, they looked after us like guardians. Nobody was hungry in Mississippi, man. It wasn't no hungry people, man. It just wasn't, because the people wasn't going to pray for you like they do here. I ain't gonna say here. I just know Indiana because it's where I reside. But I'm sure it's like that everywhere. But in Mississippi, man, they will feed you, and here they'll pray for you. Well, I pray that you get your meal, and thank you, Lord, for today, and amen. In Mississippi, there ain't no prayer. It's a plate of food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's crazy you say that, because I think that's where that Southern hospitality comes from. It's just, again, it's different. So growing up in Indiana, going to Kentucky, which it's only 4 hours south of Indy, but it was different. 4 hours south. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, we in the South, and people, people down in the South say Kentucky, not the South, but it's the South to me, because it fit like coming to the games, it was a different vibe. It was like, whoa. Mm-hmm. People are nice. Mm-hmm. I remember you always tell the story about when the lady would leave her purse in a convertible with the top down, with the purse open, and she'll go into the gas station like, oh, that purse would, you know what I'm saying? The whole car might have been gone to Indy.
Hey, it's gone.
It's just way different. So I never knew too much about the Mississippi life. So thank you for putting me on that, but I definitely could see that now, going from Indiana to Kentucky, going to Jersey, like, none against Northeastern people, but y'all need to take a deep breath.
Man, for real.
Slow it down. Slow down a little bit. And then now coming to Charlotte, I kind of regained, and it feels like Kentucky. It feels like the South. It feels like, oh, okay, it's younger, but like everybody here is just happy. Everybody's saying hello. Everybody's making eye contact. But as soon as I come back home, I ask you and my mom this all the time, like, is it getting worse, or has it just been like this? Because it's like, I'm seeing something different. I'm like, whoa, why we ain't on the same team again? Why are you mad at me because I got something that you want? Now you want to steal it from me? Now you want to rob? Like, why? What's going on with that? So, man, it's definitely a huge problem. And obviously, we're talking Indiana because we're, that's where we, grew up at, right? But I mean, this is a huge problem. And I'll speak for the Midwest. Think about the Midwest right now. There's so many projects. There's so many hoods. Think about Chicago. Just think Chicago. That's a whole war zone. They call it Chirac. And it's a war against our own people, against blacks on black. That's what it is. I went to Milwaukee for a little bit. I thought Milwaukee, I was like, I'm going to Milwaukee? I'm sure, but Wisconsin? This must be the whitest place of all white. Like, I ain't even, Milwaukee? It's worse than Indy.
Little Chicago.
Baby Chicago. I'm just like, whoa, what is going on? I'm playing basketball at a park, and they shooting dice, all that. I kind of already knew we shouldn't have been there when we pulled up. I was like, ooh, it's, you know what I'm saying? But we went to hoop, so we went out there to hoop. Dude popped the trunk, pulled something out. I seen this, I don't know, she may have been 18 to 24, a little girl, pulled out a Uzi. I've never seen a Uzi in person. She pulled out a Uzi. I know it's a Uzi from video games, but she pulled a Uzi out. And she's like, I ain't scared. I got one too. I was like, oh, man. What? This is how we living right now? But there's a melting pot in the Midwest. I don't know if it was strategic and how they put it. And I know there's hoods everywhere. But in the Midwest specifically, there's so much projects. And it's like they just threw us all and compiled us up on top of each other. And it's like, yeah, kill each other. And I'm like, whoa, why? Anyway, don't have the answer to this, but just speaking from what I know in the Midwest, and it's not a lot of it's not very pretty. It's not a lot of good times unless you get out into the suburbs, and then you scared because now you're like, I shouldn't be out here.
Exactly.
Now you got to
Yeah.
go back because now you feel trapped, and it's literally like a trap. It's like you have to stay there because if you go somewhere else, you don't know if you're gonna live there either. So
Right.
it's a whole trap. And again, I don't have no solution to this right now, outside of education. And we ain't gonna dive too much into that right now, but we must educate ourselves to protect ourselves, to have that Southern hospitality, to take care of your neighbor's kids too, because that's a community that we really missing because we all greedy for ourselves right now. But anyway, not to elaborate and dive too deep in that, but man, it's a big problem, pops.
Man, you know what? Here's the thing. Everybody, you got your own brain. So the brain is not for recording information. That's the problem. People try to use their brain to record information. You get a great idea, you try to use your brain to record information. No, your brain is for transacting. Your brain is for computing, computation, figuring this out, figuring that out. Your brain is for that. Your brain is not for memory, but we can use it for memory, just like a computer, right? So the thing is with life, and that I understand is my brain, my will, my words, my thoughts, my end goals, my definite aims. That's my responsibility. So if everybody would take their own life and make it a subject, your own life, make it a subject instead of we're always trying to fix other people. You're trying to fix somebody else, but you still broke. And I ain't talking about broke with money. I'm talking about a broken mindset where we think it's okay to steal from somebody. Like we'll actually come up with a plan to steal from somebody, or we'll try to manipulate somebody to give us money. That's stealing. When you give somebody something that's not worth the money that you get from them, that's stealing. You're stealing from them, and you're a con person. So people con people. They spend their time trying to con people all the time. You see it all over the internet now. It's everywhere. Everybody's conning people. They got these great words, it's great copy, and people read it, they listen to it, and then they pull out their credit card and they buy it, and then they do nothing with it, just like they do nothing for themselves. They do the exact same thing. They got a bunch of books, never read them. Got a bunch of words, never do them. Got a bunch of ideas, they never see the light of day. Ideas, you put them out there in the sun, they burn up. The seeds, you put seeds out there on the concrete on a hot day, the seed burn up. You put an idea in a hot mind, it's gonna burn up. Ain't gonna be nothing left. You won't have no evidence that was possible. So everybody's responsibility is to become the best person, the best version of themselves. And if everybody would take that under their hat and make it a reality for the world, would naturally improve. If everybody would just improve themselves, like you don't really want to live there, do you? Oh, you do want to live there. Okay, high five on success. Bop, high five. That's cool. No problem. You want to be here, that's where you at. I'm not gonna ever tell nobody where they should be in life. It's just we spend so much time trying to make other people believe they should be rich. But money don't make a man rich. Money don't make a man rich. What make a man rich is doing what he wants to do with his time. That's what make a man rich. And like I tell the people that I love and care about often that it's not about the money. Can I pay for the day? That's the goal. Did I make enough money to pay for tomorrow? If the answer is yes, successful, baby. Success. And if I want to make more money, I got to provide more to the public, to the marketplace, something that they need or want. And it has to be something that they need or want, And so you got to take the time to improve yourself. Take the time to improve your mind. And the way to do that is to write down an orderly account of every wise thing that can help you and make you step closer to your goal and vision. Every success and every struggle starts with your mindset. Period. Somebody say you got to struggle. I don't struggle with photography. If you don't struggle, you can't get stronger. Pretty strong. I get stronger every week, and I don't struggle at all. You know why? Because it's my passion. I love it. It's a machine. I learned this machine.
I
I
would say,
learned this thing.
yeah, I definitely say it's relative though too, because right
Yeah.
now it's not a struggle to you, but for somebody that's never done it before, it may feel like a struggle. See what I'm saying?
Feelings. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. It feel like a struggle. If you love it, it's not a struggle. You know what a struggle is? A struggle is when you pick up more weight than you're used to picking up. That's a struggle. When physical exertion, when you've never ran a mile before, and now you have to run a mile. That's a struggle. That's an exertion. But if you know where you're going before you start working, it's not a struggle to drive there. Sitting in traffic is not a struggle. Getting a flat tire, that's not a struggle. That's a situation. That's just a situation that happened. It's all about how you use your energy. And if the hardest thing in the world to do is think, that's the hardest thing to do. Compute information on things that you don't even believe are real. That's the hardest thing to do in the world. So the struggle of photography, nah, I'm pushing a button. I'm just pushing a button. It's not a struggle at all. There's nothing, no exertion, no. You look through a piece and you push a button. Now, if you want the pictures to be better, you strive to get more information. The guy who's a janitor in the building and the guy who owns that same building, the difference between those two men is not the amount of energy they expend. It's about the information. It's about the information that they have. So if you got more information, you got more options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just want to take it because you said one thing. I want to take it back a little bit. You said talking about starts with yourself, and
yeah,
for a lot of people, for me, and this is one thing that I had to learn for myself. Me being the oldest of 7, like I feel like I always got to give back, and I always got to do this and do that, and it's always like give. And one of my favorite sayings, I used to say it every single day on the morning show: you cannot pour from an empty cup. You must fill your cup up first before you pour out the other. Same thing on the airplane. They tell you to put your mask on first before you go help somebody else put their mask on. Because how you going to help them put their mask on if you ain't got no oxygen? So you got to take care of yourself first. But it sounds so selfish, right? It's like forget y'all. I got to take care of me. So like on the top part of it sounds selfish. But again, like we just said, well, if your ultimate goal is to pour into other people, and your cup's empty, you're not going to be successful with your goal, right? So you must fill up your own self. And I'll just kind of end it with this as we start wrapping this thing up. Our dreams are, they're not just meant for us. Let me say it like that. Our dreams aren't, I said this on the Wise Words the other day. Our dreams aren't just meant for us. Our dreams are bigger than us. Our dreams are going to be helping other people as well. So if we just thinking about our dreams, some people might say, oh, you selfish. I always just think about your dreams, about everybody else. Well, what if your dream is to fill up your cup as much as possible so you can rain on the whole world? What if that's your dream? And they think it's so small and they're not moving on to that next segment. But I'll just end it with self-care is not selfish, man. Take care of yourself, because you're not taking care of yourself. If you are a go-giver like most of us portray to be, then if you're not full, you're not going to be able to pour out into other people. So make sure we're filling yourself up first and foremost before you pour it all out.
Interesting point. The thing is, when the greatest service of all is to serve yourself, you got to serve yourself, because if I got $1 billion, that's $1 billion worth of problems I could solve. So if your goal is to serve people, you got to be a wealthy person. You got to have enough money to take care of your family, because me serving people, my family shouldn't suffer because I'm serving other people's families. That doesn't make sense. And that doesn't sound like anything a God would do, or a king. The kingdom's going to be strong before the peasant gets served, period, point blank. So it's not about, if it's called selfish, cool. I'm selfish, because I'm always making sure my mind is powerful with information, so that I can, when I begin to talk, I'm serving the community that way. Everywhere I go, when I begin to talk to people, mental scraps pour out of me, like a wellspring, and the thing is, I'm not talking about sickness. I ain't talking about death. I'm always talking about richness. enrichment, encouragement, of other people. And sometimes people, will say, they will say, thank you for saying that. I've never quite thought of it like that before. My mindset is the most important asset that I have. And if my mind is set on 2+2 being 4, when somebody brings 2+3 = 5 to you, your mindset is not going to compute. You won't be able to compute that information. So you're going to stay at that 2+2 level when there's a 2+3 level and a 2+4 level and a 2+5 level. There's always levels. So where you're at right now, if you're comfortable where you're at and that's where you want to stay, then stay. But if you are a person like me and, and my sons, my daughters, it's my hope and my dream that they will always have the law of improvement in their mindset, because a seed, all it wants to do is improve. Once it gets into the dirt, into that environment, once it gets all the nourishment from that environment, pulls all the resources from that environment, then it sprouts up and it becomes a tree and it bears fruit. Sometimes the fruit is more seeds. Sometimes the fruit is an apple or an orange. For me, it's photographs. That's my fruit. Wherever I put my seed at, I am the seed. Wherever I put myself, wherever I put my feet, this is where I plant myself. And when I leave that place, I'm going to have so much fruit that I can give back to the people. And then one last thing, I know we're getting out of hand with this show today with the time, but it's cool. Apples don't eat apples. Apple trees don't eat apples. So what is the fruit for? The fruit is forgiving. That's a bar right there. Apple trees don't eat apples. The fruit is forgiving. So your talent, your passion, everything you are, everything you produce is forgiving to someone who could use the inspiration or who could use the product to improve themselves. It's always about improvement, never about change. People always talk about change. Change is a terrible, terrible word for a person who is a procrastinator. It's a terrible word for somebody who has no understanding of who they are. That word change is terrible. But is a little Billy cuss his mama out 30 times every month, out 28 times the next month, that's improvement. I take that over a kid completely changing like a butterfly.
Mm-hmm. Love that, Pops. Hey, that's a good drop the mic right there. That's a good outro right there, man. That's a good outro.
Yeah.
But man, I want to get on. Maybe next episode we'll go more of the improvement piece, because we'll talk for a whole hour on improvement as well. Because but I love what you're talking about, how apples don't eat apples. They don't. Mm-hmm. So every single thing, and I say it every single time one of my friends or family members call me with a bad situation, I say, well, you're going through this for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. You're going through that for a reason in order to give back and help somebody else. It may be a kid, it may be a cousin, it may be your mama sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I like how you said that with, you're literally teaching your mom now, which is cool, because you told me before, like from the Consistent Daily Action Morning Show, I, as your son, was able to teach you by simply writing down some check boxes. Like, this ain't hard stuff, y'all. This is not hard. This is not hard. Mm-hmm. But I got 2 notebooks filled up of my actions of what I've done by simply writing it down. And that's something that's really cool that, I feel great that I could learn my lesson in order to, give it down to everybody else and even give it up to my pops. So definitely appreciate you sharing that before. But we'll wrap this thing up, man. We're going to keep all these under an hour. Me and my pops are talkers. I'm sure y'all know that by now. But if you rock with us for this whole 58, 59 minutes, man, definitely appreciate you. Definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Go ahead and share this out to your friends and family, because this is just simple talks with my pops that we're going to keep on learning from each and every time. So you'll be coming to you every single Sunday. But before we wrap up, Pops, you got any last words for the Freedom Finder? Not for the Freedom Finder. Look, I'm going right to it is for the Freedom Finders too. We up in there too. Yeah. But you got any last words for all the we ain't got no family name for the mental scrap folks.
Hey, yeah, we good. Mental scraps, man. They need to understand what that is, man, because even though I passed my deadline to get it out by the 1st, I mean, I'm looking at it right now on my desktop. It's so much power. But so I want to say mental scrap number 15. This is just one of them. Okay. So if you can see, if you can read, if you can write, if you can organize your mind and your knowledge, then you are able to do anything you put your focus energy into. If you can read, write, and organize your knowledge, then you can do anything you put your mind to. Because your body gonna always do what you say. Your body can't do nothing else. Like you say, I don't want to do this today. That's your, come on now. Your body is a slave to your word and to your mindset. Mm-hmm. Your body's your vehicle. Your car don't go nowhere without you.
Mental scrap 15, huh?
Number 15. Yeah.
Hey, man, love it. Tell the people where they can get more of the mental scraps. Where can they see these mental scraps at?
Well, it's gonna be coming out. I'm dropping the whole 365. Hopefully we get it knocked out today, but the goal is to get this thing out this week. You know, my life partner, she can write about 100 words a minute, but she cannot write my mental scrap. She has to dictate what I'm putting down. So it takes a little longer. Once I get it correct, then she can blast through it. But I want it to be something that you guys, my children, you know, will use as a tool to improve themselves. You know, so I'm putting a lot of effort into it.
Yes, sir. And I love it, man. I appreciate it. All the mental scraps you leave mental scraps every time we talk. So that's why we said we got to talk weekly to make sure everybody else is getting mental scraps too. Because at the end of the day, apples don't, the apples don't feed apples. The apple tree don't feed the apple.
Apple trees don't eat apples. Yeah, apple trees don't.
There we go.
Eat apples.
Apple trees don't eat apples. So we are here to bear fruit to give to other people. So we'll end up with that, man. Pops, man, I love you, man. Appreciate you tapping in always. If you are still here again, make sure y'all make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel, man. Everything's under the Freedom Finders 317. This is a segment. So if y'all don't follow our consistent daily action show, we go live every day as well, Monday through Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So make sure y'all check us out, Freedom Finders 317. Like, subscribe, and make sure y'all hit that notification bell. And that does it for us. Pops, man, appreciate it, man, for episode number 2 with the mental scraps. Man, we signing out. Y'all gonna be great today.
All right, love you, son.
Yes, sir. Love you too.